Hey, it's Baz, filmmaker, dad, and the guy behind 20 Minute Gamer. Today I am jumping into Devil May Cry. It's a game that I've always wanted to play, but I've never actually got around to playing it at all. And I'm playing it as part of the Devil May Cry 1 to 3 HD collection on Steam. Devil May Cry is one of those games that is a massive favourite for many gamers, and it's just one that I've never actually managed to play myself. Although I've always really wanted to, I don't really know that much about it other than the main character and that this started out as a Resident Evil sequel. So I'm keen to see if any of that spilled over into the game, and spoiler alert, I absolutely loved this one. But before we get into it, if you do like my videos, please do give me a subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I look forward to hearing from you down in the comments. Story. So there's a bit of a cutscene at the start of the game, which is pretty cool, to be honest. There's a guy called Dante, and he's in a bar called Devil May Cry, which I guess is where the name of the game came from. Again, I never knew that. A lady smashes her motorbike through the door and starts firing at our hero, Dante. He fends her off in a pretty cool way. He throws her motorbike across through the air and starts shooting it, and it smashes into her. And then there's a bit of a chat where she says, look, basically, I need your help. The big bad guy who killed your family is back, and he says he's going to come back stronger than ever. And he's on an island somewhere called Malay Island. The funny thing is, your character does seem to recognize the lady. She looks very similar to a picture he has on the floor. It's either his, sister or mother or something like that. So there's something going on there, and yeah, it's quite good. It's quite a little hooked-in narrative. And when you get to the castle on the island, there's obviously something strange going on. There's lots of possessed marionettes, and everything just starts attacking you. And yeah, there's enough here to have me hooked. Yeah, I really did get into it. There's nothing massively deep going on or original, but it sets up this idea of, who is this guy? You get the idea that your character's a real cool kind of badass guy. And yeah, just straight into it. I really enjoyed it. So I would give this one an 8 out of 10. Controls. So I used a controller for this one. I did start out with a keyboard, but realized that navigating was an absolute nightmare. So I got a controller, an Xbox controller, and basically you can use a variety of buttons, such as jump. You can do a double jump by bouncing off a wall, which is quite handy. You've also got a massive sword, which you can use, and you've got a aim and fire button. You can use one of the right triggers to lock onto enemies, and then that lets you fire at them as much as you want. I found it was quite intense during bigger combat scenes where I was fighting off lots and lots of enemies. I was constantly squeezing that trigger and hammering the fire button, and I found that after a few minutes, by the end of the playthrough, my wrist was aching like I was a 15-year-old again. So that's just something to bear in mind. That's basically all that I used for my playthrough. There's a lot of stuff going on as far as mechanics. So you can jump, you can dodge, you can fire when you're in the air, which kind of freezes you in the air for a bit while you shoot your guns down. And also you can use your sword in the air. And I found that after a while, although it did take me a little bit getting used to, by the time I completed the first sort of area and I was fighting my way through hordes of bad guys, I felt pretty good. I was dodging, I was jumping off walls, I was firing while I was in the air, and then I was slamming down onto them with my sword. Near enemies, I was swiping them back with my sword, and ones that were far away, I was shooting them before they could get to me. And yeah, it just all flowed really well. I think the only downside I have with the controls would really be down to the camera. And again, this is very much of the era, and it does kind of shout Resident Evil to me, is that sometimes you'd be running and the camera would cut to a different camera angle, and you're kind of then running in a direction different to what you were originally running. And there's that thing where you have to kind of pause and change the direction just so that your character keeps moving in the same direction, which is a little bit jarring. And it's not too bad when you're navigating around, really, but when I was fighting some bad guys, it did kind of throw me a little bit a few times when the change of direction happened with the camera. So that's just one thing to know. If you're not used to this sort of game or games from this era, that might catch you out. But generally, it was quite a pleasure to handle. And yeah, I did feel like the ultimate badass after a while. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Atmosphere. This one really was dripping atmosphere, and it's not just the kind of tense, mysterious ambience that you get when you're in the castle, but also just through the cutscenes. There's a really cinematic flair to everything, and you've got kind of heavy rock music accompanying the cutscenes, which was great. And the castle itself has mysterious music in the background, and this kind of ambient sound effects just really do pull you in and scream big abandoned castle. And yeah, it really does give off those Resident Evil vibes. Resident Evil 4, actually, it reminded me a lot of the castle in that game. I think the only thing that kept reminding me that I was playing a video game was that there are lots of text scenes. So whenever you click on an item to see what it is or interact with a door or a wall or a statue or something, it does show up and tell you what it is in a subtitle that does crawl across the screen extremely slowly. And I found myself tapping to click through it, but unfortunately that's not an option. So that did pull me out a little bit. And also the fact that most of the gameplay, apart from the combat, is just trying to find your way around and find these little red orbs that are lying around, which again is a very video gamey thing. And they also pop out when you kill a bad guy. There's orbs fly everywhere and you're just going to have to collect them. I think that's fine. It's not too bad. It is a video game, but as far as immersion is concerned, that does pull me out a little bit and remind me that I am playing a video game. Having said that, it's not really a problem, and I did feel I got lost in this world. So for atmosphere, I would say that this is a 7 out of 10. Music and sound. Let's start with the voiceovers. I thought they were really good. They were really well done. They were as cheesy as I would expect them to be. Very Resident Evil, kind of late 90s, early 2000s, and it worked really well. I thought that the sound effects were done really, really well. The gunshots sound amazing. The cutscenes in particular had a really good cinematic flair to them. And yeah, it was just really loud, really in your face. There was bits where people were shouting over sparks flying and bullets flying and explosions going off. And it was as if everything was just turned up to 11 in the mix. And it was just fantastic. It really did. It was just bombardment of sound, really, which was fantastic.
The legendary Dark Knight Sparta. Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword?
And to talk about the music, I really enjoyed the music in this one. I think the music that kicks in the cutscene was really good at the start, where you've got kind of a rock guitar sort of anthem going on, which is great. And then you've got more electronic stuff that hits during the combat. But the stuff that I really liked was actually just the exploration music. When you're walking around the castle, there's a really nice background, kind of ethereal drone, which I really enjoyed. It did remind me a lot of Resident Evil 4, actually. I believe the save room music. And a quick Google did tell me that one of the composers, Misao Senbongi, was working on both games. So I'm wondering if she had something to do with that music in particular. But yeah, it works really, really well. Actually quite nostalgic and just a lot of fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I would say for sound overall, this is a very strong package. And I think if you can turn your speakers right up or blast this on your headphones, you're going to have an incredible time with the sound. And I would say that this is actually a 9 out of 10. Graphics and style. So this is a HD collection, and it looks like it's a kind of early 2000 HD remake, basically. I think they've basically just upscaled the playing resolution. I think that all the textures and character models and so on, they do have a very 2000s kind of look to them. So I'm not sure how much has changed from the original to this HD remaster. However, I'm going to rate the game based on what I've seen, and it's good. Yeah, it's really nice. It has a really good style throughout. Everything's quite gothic. I really like the design of the characters. The main character, Dante in particular, looks very cool. He's got a really cool wardrobe, and his weapons look incredible. The sword that he gets at the end of my playthrough looked great, and there's lots of nice particle effects going on, not just when you're fighting people, but also through the cutscenes. There's lightning and explosions and all sorts going off, which look really, really great. And then you've got the environments themselves, which I thought were really good. They're really highly detailed. The texture works really good, although when you get close up to walls and things, you can see that obviously it's a little bit pixelated. However, generally, I found that the lighting was really good. The mood of the castle was really, really good. And there's just a lot of nice little things going on there, such as a door that you can't get through. It has a kind of a mysterious haze over it, and a hand reaches out and kind of slaps you away if you're not able to unlock the door. I also just want to comment that the design of the bad guys is fantastic. You were basically fighting huge marionettes, and when I say huge, they dwarf your character. If your character's 6 foot, these are at least 8 or 9 foot tall. and they are quite menacing. They're quite scary looking, I would say. They're very creepy. They move in a very unnatural way, and yeah, just really well designed. It really, really stood out to me. In fact, I didn't know anything about them at all going in. I'd not seen anything about these marionettes, but they really did stick in my mind, and I think they'll be in my mind for a while. I wanted to point out that there was a room that had a window, and through the window you could see leaves blowing around on trees, and it actually looked to me like that was a FMV or a video file playing through that window, and it just looked really, really good. It just lifted the production values quite a lot, so I did appreciate that. And I think just overall, this is a really stylish looking game. Cutscenes are really well directed, and just everything about it screams kind of 90s cheesy Matrix kind of production values. I think the fact that this came out when it did, and it still holds up today, I would say, as a pretty strong, stylish game. So yeah, although it obviously has shown age a little bit, I think based on when this came out, this has got to be an 8 out of 10. Gameplay. So what do you do in 20 minutes? Well, there's a little bit of a cutscene at the start to get through, but once you've got through that, you are exploring a castle. And for the first 5 minutes or so, you're kind of just collecting orbs, and you need enough orbs to get through a door. And I could have done with a bit of a tutorial, to be honest, or just some on-screen button prompts telling me what to do. I had to figure out things like double jumps and aiming and firing and everything for myself, which is fine. It did feel rewarding when I figured it out, but I feel like in real life, I wouldn't need to wait to learn how to jump necessarily. So a little button prompt would have been handy. But once I'd got past the orb collection at the start of the game, it opened up and I was able to then fight lots of bad guys. And yeah, you basically just spent the next 15 minutes battling through loads and loads of these bad guys. And to be fair, each combat session was ridiculously fun. It was a challenge at first, and then they started to get easier once I got into the routine. I'd mastered the controls a bit, and I felt a little bit more unstoppable. Whereas the first combat, you're in a kind of a closed quarters, and it's a little bit intense. The game actually asked me if I wanted to swap to easier difficulty. I don't know if this was a personal attack on myself or whether everybody gets given this option. However, I stuck with the original difficulty, and I found that I was able to progress quite well, and I just really enjoyed it. The combat just felt really fluid, really responsive. It almost made me feel like something like Sleeping Dogs or one of the Arkham games, or something a lot more recent than this. It was just flowing from one bad guy to the next. I never really felt that the controls were getting in the way of what I was doing. I felt like I was completely in control, and that any mistakes or any hits that I received were because I wasn't paying attention or I didn't deflect and things like that. So yeah, really, really good fun, this one. I really, really enjoyed it. I kind of was a little bit disappointed when I got to the end of my 20 minutes. I did obtain a massive sword at the end of my playthrough, and I look forward to using that again to go on to fight some even bigger bad guys, I imagine. So yeah, for gameplay, I can't really fault this one. I'm just going to give it a 9 out of 10. The standout moment for me in my 20 minutes, well, there's two if I'm allowed. The first one was in the opening cutscene when the motorbike went flying through the air and he was shooting it and it landed on the woman, and there was just explosions and rock music going off and everything. I just had a huge smile on my face just at the cheese of it all, but it's also how cool it was. But if that's not allowed for a standout moment, then my standout moment really would be just towards the end of my playthrough when I felt like I was actually mastering the controls a bit. I was fighting off a lot of bad guys in a small corridor, and I was jumping over them, I was barrel rolling, I was dodging them, I was swiping at them with my sword and shooting at them when they were close up. And yeah, it was just great. I just felt unstoppable, and I really was quite happy to see more bad guys spawning in front of me. It was a lot of fun. Final verdict, is this worth 20 minutes? I don't have much else to say other than yes, I really enjoyed this one. I think this is obviously a famous and popular game for a reason, and I can totally see why. I actually went into this one thinking, I might upset some people with this because it might be a bit janky or it might not be that fun, or perhaps there's not much to do in the first 20 minutes. However, I felt like I did experience a good chunk of what's on offer here, and I really, really enjoyed it. I could not really find many faults with this at all. If I have found any faults at all, it's really just through nitpicking for the sake of the review. This is a really good time, and I think if you're short on time, there's definitely enough for you to get your teeth stuck into here. And I think if you've got more time, this is one game that you are definitely going to come back to, and I am going to give this an 8 out of 10. What do you think though? Do you love Devil May Cry? Are the sequels any better, or is this feeling dated to you now? Would this have been a good Resident Evil game? I can't see that, to be honest. It's too different. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. And as I've said, if you enjoy this sort of content, please do give me a subscribe because it is a massive help to the channel and all comments and feedback are appreciated. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
You